Welcome back. Right, now I'm going to show you how you can make this great winter wrap, or you can make it into a nice summer wrap as well. So what you need, believe it or not, is 2.5 meters of fabric. So it's 2.5 meters of fabric long, and the depth can be 65 centimeters or 75 centimeters. Here's the difference. So if it's 65 centimeters long, it's going to be finished from the neck edge to the bottom of your cape, and that's the wrong way. It is going to be about 62 centimeters finished. So if you want it longer, the blue one I've made 10 centimeters longer. That comes out at about 69, 70. So it just makes it a little bit longer there. And the only difference is, this is the sleeve opening. So the only difference it's going to make is that sleeve opening on the longer one will be smaller. It makes no difference. It hangs the same, it looks the same. And in fact, I actually think I like the smaller opening. Okay, so this is a very, very easy garment to make, and I'm just going to show you how you do it on this one here, and then I'll do this one as well. So pretend this is my 2.5 meters of fabric, because I'm just doing a sample because it's really a lot of fabric to try and hold up. So this is the fabric that I've chosen, and I've overlocked around, just with a 3-thread overlock, around the whole piece of my fabric. Okay, now on the long side, so the long side, the 2.5 meter that way, you're going to turn up just a little bit of your fabric to top stitch. So all I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to turn this to the wrong side. I don't bother pinning, I just turn it to the wrong side. I've got my number one foot on, and I'll make sure that is the wrong side it is. And I'm just going to put my foot down. Now this is what I'm doing. I'm pretty much turning it up 6 millimeters, and the 6 millimeters is the distance between the center of my foot. Oh, clear my foot, put it back to normal stitch length. And so basically I'm just sewing through my overlocking. So I'm not pinning or measuring. I can pretty much eyeball 6 mils, and I'm just sewing through the center. And if I show you a foot, if I show you a foot here, it's it's this distance here. So actually is 6 mils between there and there. Pretty much there, okay? So I'm just turning it up that much, and I'm using that as my guide. That's why I'm not pinning, because I'm lazy. And who wants to pin chiffon? Let's face it, nobody. So I just turn it under, and I only do probably 2 or 3 inches at a time anyway. And so when I turn it up, I can just put my finger on there. And do you know what? Fabric is very clever. If that was not on the right grain, it would not sit flat. So by turning it up a little bit, it actually just works. It's amazing. So this is just something I saw online, but I've changed the next step a little bit. So I've also changed it in your notes, because I think I've made it a little bit easier to understand. But it's going to be so much easier by you watching it, so it doesn't really matter. So you do both long sides. Just make sure you push that out of the way so it's sitting nice and flat. And I am very lucky having this lovely big table, because it does help, because I've got a bit more room to work on. So So this is the height adjustable table that you can wind it up and use it as a cutting table as well. It's very, very handy. So I'm nearly at the other end. So for this top, we have got a 5-inch allowance for our neck edge. So the next step is to get the halfway mark of our garment, which obviously will be 1.5 meters on your garment, but on this one not as much, because it's just too hard to hold it up to show you. So I'm going to get the halfway mark of this garment and put a pin, not a clip but a pin, and when I'm doing it I actually put the pin through a couple of times because chiffon likes to drop the pins out. Then I lay it down on my table and I get my tape measure, or usually this actually, and I measure 2.5 inches and I put a pin 2.5 inches away on both sides. So this is my neck edge. So 2.5, see what happens? 2.5 inches on either side of my previous pin. I think you're definitely all going to make these because they're too easy not to, and they look really, really nice on. So this one obviously won't really fit anybody, maybe one of my grandchildren. Right, so there's my neck edge. Okay, so now what happens is this edge here is going to come and meet up with this edge here. Oh, that's right, I have to do it shorter because I haven't got enough fabric, have I? I have to make a sleeve. So you can't even cheat. So I'm just going to show you what it does. So this is just pretend, because this is the only way I can show you, because otherwise I won't have a sleeve because it's too long. So this is how you make your sleeve. So you're stitching this corner one all the way up to your first pin. This won't work because of the size, and you're stitching along this edge. So what I do now is I clip it, and I've got one here to show you the proper size, but if I show you this it will make sense. So you're just clipping it along here. This is why you don't need to clean finish this edge. So you bring the bottom one up to the top, okay, just like that. So I'm going to show you on this proper one. So here, because it's so long, I had to do it. All right, so this is 1/2 of it. So here's my one I've done. So I'm going to measure 5 inches from here, because that will be my next one to bring up, and I can show you properly on this one. I thought I'd be able to show you on that one, but it really doesn't work. So 5 inches. So this is my mark. And this is the one I've previously done and top stitched. Okay. So if you have a look here, if I go like this and show you, this is my neck edge. This is my bottom corner. It goes all the way up to here, right side to right side, and just clip it. And this becomes my sleeve. So you can see this is a longer one, so it comes all the way to here. This is my end that's clean finish, my straight line. This comes all the way up to my second mark. So it was 2.5, I've stitched this one. This is 2.5, I've stitched this one. And just double pin that one there, and then pin all the way along here. It's very, very clever because it makes your sleeve, and I use clips. And you can see I'm putting it just down below My folded edge, I don't want to have that up there because I'm going to make what's called kind of a French seam on this. So I just stitch it down here. Now just cut off your threads. Yeah, that was an epic fail. I thought I could have shown you on that other one, but it didn't work. So you can see it doesn't matter that this is a smaller sleeve. It really doesn't matter. Makes absolutely no difference. Somebody wanted a grey chiffon one, so I said, oh well, I might as well do it. Nice and easy and quick. So just stitch this onto here. Now I've clipped that onto there, but I can actually go onto here and if I want to, and I can stitch on that same row of stitching line. Oh, now I've got the wrong colour thread on. I'll put the grey thread on so it's the right colour. And it's saying to put the feed dogs down for some weird reason. I'm not sure why it's saying that. But I do not want to put the feed dogs down. So I must have knocked something. So when you're doing it, you do want to match up your thread colour as much as you can because you're going to be top stitching it. I can leave the stitch length on 2.5 because I am sewing it onto the garment. And if I want to, I can lengthen it when I top stitch. Cut that thread. So now I'm putting the grey thread on. Can I just remind you that when you're using, I think I did last time, but I had it happen again today, when you're using these Gutermann spools, this part here locks your thread on, but if you try and sew, it can catch your thread when you're sewing. So make sure you turn it round so the word Gutermann is on the top when you're actually stitching so you don't have any catching of your thread. Be very aware of that because it's really annoying. And by the way, do not push this on really hard. I had a customer the other day and she couldn't work out why her needle broke because she had this on far too tight. So make sure you do not have that on tight. So there, there, there. And if your needle threader doesn't work, maybe clean it. Sometimes the needle threaders are dirty and that's why they don't work. And if you have got the number 1 foot on, you can just put your needle down through the foot, pull your thread and put that down.
Turn your spool cap around so it covers the end.
If you've got a bigger reel of thread, turn your spool cap so that it covers the thread. And this end matches this end, so this is the right spool cap for that one. So the thread doesn't get caught. Right, so you can stitch from that side if you're worried, but you really don't need to because I know the width of the stitch I used and I can see it clearly here on this side, so I'm going to sew from this side and use my foot width. And I can see clearly that I've used the foot width across my seam. So all I'm going to do is put my foot up and top stitch this on. Well, it's not top stitching, sew this on. And clearly you can see my overlocking is down below my fold of my fabric. You can go pretty whizzy along here. And the beauty is you've only had to sew 2 straight rows of stitching so far, so it's very quick and easy. And having an overlocker certainly has made it nice and easy because that edge is all cleaned off. And as long as your stitching is down below your first row of stitching, you are all good to go. Nice and easy. And yes, you can press yours as you go. I haven't had time, but yes, press it. You can press it at the end as well. Now, that's step 1. So that was easy. So I have stitched that all the way down. Now all I do, pull this through to the right side. Like that. And this is when I use my handy dandy tools I've got. So I've got these wonderful little tools in my sewing room. So all I do now is press it, which I'm not going to do, but you can press it. But I can use this to lay my seam down flat, and this time I do need to use pins, and I'm going to pin the seam I've just sewn onto my garment. So now this is the right side of my garment, and I'm going to be top stitching it so I can use a slightly longer stitch length, and I'm going to be top stitching it all the way down the seam, and it's finished. So you do both sides exactly the same. So normally I would give this a little press. Being chiffon, look what happened. That's what happens when you've had it for about 15 years and you drop it. It still works. But yeah, it went down with a crash. I still use it because it's so good. So give that a little, very light press when you're doing chiffon. I'm going to press mine at the end of this one because it's sitting nice and flat anyway. And then it can just have a light press at the end. Other fabrics I definitely press, but chiffon, it's pretty forgiving actually. And then all the way, and that's my sleeve. That's pretty darn easy and very, very, very quick to make. And once again, if I had done it the other way and sewed that way, it would have been a little bit easier. But I pinned it this way, so I'm going to sew it this way. Because I could have gone for the widest part to the smallest. Now I'm going to show you this one. So this is exactly the same stage. This is exactly the same stage here. This is my seam all the way, and this is with the bigger opening, and it's going to be turned over and top stitched, and this is the way I should have pinned it onto here. So this will be done exactly the same, and then that one's all finished. So this one's got the wider seam. So for something heavier like this, I can just hold it up and pin it. But for chiffon, you couldn't do this, it would just move. And I've already pre-pressed this one. So you can see, you can feel the seam, and you know how wide the seam is anyway. And so you're basically just doing a top stitch on top, and it's holding that seam down nice and flat. And I'll show you when I turn it through to the other side how it looks before you top stitch it. So very, very, very easy. It's a wonderful top. And it's, yeah, whatever length you like. 65 centimetres, 75 centimetres, but you need 2.5 metres of fabric to make it. So normally the fabric is 150 wide, so we're happy to cut 2.5 metres by 75, and somebody else can buy the other piece. So there it is pinned on, and if I turn it through, you can see there it is pinned on there, and everything's nice and tidy inside. So this edge was the selvage, so I just left that because that's not going to fray or go anywhere, and it's on the inside of my garment. Not worried about that at all. So this will be exactly the same as this top, and when that's top stitched, that will go over like that. So some of the ladies have challenged me because they like to do that, and they want me to put some little pockets in here. So they were thinking with an invisible zip. So I think it's quite a good idea because then you can wear it and have your hands in your pockets. So I might do that, but not today. Not today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch that on to show you. So those are very handy. So being chiffon, it really doesn't matter which way I put the pins around, but it is easier if you have your thicker part on the other end. So I'm going to leave my foot on. Nope, lift that up. I'm going to put my foot on my fold of my fabric, and I'm going to move my needle position to the right, one click, and I'm going to lengthen it out. And now I'll take the pins out as I go. And the best part about doing this, make sure you've got your needle down function on, is your needle down function. And when you sew and you get rearranged, just pull your fabric so you can only see the part you're sewing. You do not want your other garment under there. Hence why I should have pulled it from the other way. It makes no difference. Chiffon goes to nothing when you pull it. So pins out as you go and just top stitching. Okay, pull it down. Make sure it's sitting flat, the part you're doing. Do you know the dual feed is so good on these machines. If you're worried, you can hold it front to back. No need really, but if you want to, you can. Then just pull it down. So it would have been easier had I pinned it the right way. Once again, like to show you what not to do. It's the second time I've done that in Bernina Club, to tell you the truth. But it's a very quick and easy jacket to make. And you know, sometimes you've got that really nice dress, but it's got no sleeves in it, and you just feel a little bit bare and you just want an extra layer. This would give you an extra layer without the weight. And then for winter, you can have it as a nice cozy little top. So I'm going to just put my hand in there to make sure. Yep, no, we're all good. And you can actually see through it, so you can make sure that you're not sewing on your garment. Just pull it down as you go. And the foot width along the edge. Doesn't matter what size machine you've got, you can always move your needle position to get the right result. Just going to cut that thread that's annoying me there. Pull this down and top stitch. Don't try and do a whole big long length at one time, just do a little bit at a time. Pull your garment down, pins out as you go, and flatten it down. Another reason why I didn't actually want to press that, because I don't want it, I just want it nice and soft finish. And I'd very, very lightly press it, and probably the only time it did get pressed, because you will wash it and it will drip dry. Quite a good thing to take on holiday actually, because it's very, very light in your suitcase, yet it's a nice little covering for you to have when you just need a little cover. And when you get to the end, just back stitch it or lock it off, because that's going to be your neck edge. So I'm just going to reverse it and then cut it with the scissors. And then take my work out. And that is the finish on that one. So you've just top stitched it all the way across there, and then I'll just give it a light press. So this is what there's my thread. This is what I'm talking about the size of your sleeve. So you're not losing much by making it a longer jacket, because you're only getting a sleeve that size. On this one, the sleeve is, oh, I've done that one smaller. On this one, it is bigger. So you can see it's a much bigger opening. Okay? So it really doesn't matter. If you want it longer at the back, make it longer, make it deeper, and your sleeve just becomes smaller. It honestly does not matter. But they're very, very nice. So this one, I'll put this one on. Got your sleeve. You got your sleeve. So they're just a nice little shrug. All right? So there's nothing hard about them. They're very, very easy, and they're easy to wear. So I think they're great. So just be aware that honestly, it doesn't matter what fabric you make it out of, whether it's a heavier wool fabric like this one. This is a wool blend, and it still hangs okay. You can even make it out of a knit fabric. There's nothing stopping you from making out of a knit fabric, but this one here would be like wearing a little blanket. I'm actually thinking, you know, I might make a merino one, because I'm going on a plane and I get really cold on a plane, and I think a light merino one of these would be really good just to put as a wrap on the plane, because you want something nice and light. So that's a good idea as well. I think years ago I showed you about a merino little pullover you could wear in bed if you're sitting up reading a book. This would be another cute little thing, but I think this would be a great one for the plane. So I might just take this one with me, because I think that blue one might go over a couple of my dresses, and it might just be a nice little covering to wear. Cover the arms, you know, as we get older. Anyway, so I hope there's one of those two little either wrap or little tops that you might like to make for winter, or this one could be made for summer as well. And I will see you again in the month of June. So that's my last Bernina Club before I go to Bernina University. And then when I come back from Bernina University, I am sure I'm going to have so much to tell you, because I have booked into so many classes at Bernina University. So I'll be learning lots of new things. And I'm really looking forward to going. So I will see you in June, and then when I come back in July with all my things that I've learnt at Bernina University. So I'll see you again soon.